Hey, welcome back to another episode of Addicted to Gear. I'm Tony and I'm addicted to gear. Thank you for tuning in to my channel once again. Today I wanted to take a moment and talk about what's been boiling and brewing and causing a lot of people anxiety and getting a lot of people's panties in a bunch because Gibson has come out with a video that people did not like. So if you haven't already seen this video, I'll put the link down below to a copy that someone actually videotaped on their cell phone before it was pulled, because it caused so much of an uproar that people at Gibson immediately pulled the video. So let me give you a little bit of the backstory in case you've been living under a rock and you haven't heard. Basically, we all know that Gibson was in financial difficulty not long ago. They were basically on the brink of going out of business, of becoming extinct, right? They were going to go bankrupt. Now, they restructured. They brought in a very intelligent fellow who knows how to market a brand, and he was the CEO over at Levi's. So he came over to Gibson and he started making some really nice videos where he was talking about how it was important for Gibson to listen to their customers, and they really wanted to get feedback so that they could implement what the customers really wanted. And it was giving everybody the warm and fuzzies, including me. I'm like, wow, could this really be true, where Gibson is really going to start listening to what customers want, right? So later on, we found out that Mark Agnesi, who used to be an employee over at Norman's Rare Guitars, and they have a YouTube channel where they review and talk about some inventory that they have. They have beautiful old Gibson guitars and a whole bunch of other things because they basically collect them and resell them, and to people like Joe Bonamassa and Tom Petty and a whole bunch of other very famous people. So Mark Agnesi was an employee there, and he was talking about the guitars, and he would make video content for Norman. And he was he seemed to be very much into guitars, very intelligent fellow, and he really understood the guitars and what makes up a good guitar. And he seemed to be like a collector himself. So when we learned that Mark was chosen to go over to Gibson and become director of brand experience, it seemed to me anyways that, the story was actually coming true. It seemed like Gibson was really talking the talk and walking the walk, and they're recruiting people like Mark, and it seemed to be a step in the right direction. Now, this happened, I think, back in March that he moved over to Gibson. So it hasn't been very long, has it? It's been a couple of months. Well, it hasn't taken them very long to unfortunately put their foot in their mouth. Now, Mark had released a video for Gibson, and I don't know if it was his idea or not, probably not, but I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt. So it seemed like they basically produced a video, and Mark was talking about how the brand is important and how Gibson has a legacy, and how they want to protect the legacy, and they want to make sure that certain things such as the bookmark headstock and the logo and the body shapes are like protected. So it seemed to me, when I was listening to this video, I was kind of like reading things between the lines, and to me it sounded like Gibson taking out the big stick and saying to everyone else, like, be careful, watch out guys, because we're back now, and we're gonna kick your ass if we see you trying to make guitars that look like our guitars and have maybe a lower price point. So we're Gibson, and don't mess with us, okay? Now, look, normally we all know that, in a legal corporate world, every company has the right to protect their copyrights. Ibanez, Gibson, Fender, PRS, you name it, they are all going to protect their copyrighted, headstock design and body shape, because that is what they're selling. That is why they exist. And Gibson has the right to do that also. It's just the way it was done. You have a guy like Mark Agnesi, who's basically in charge of brand experience, right? And now he's threatening somebody. He's threatening everybody actually out there. What does that say about your brand? What does that say about the focus of your company, where you're basically putting your energies? So to me, if you're gonna be looking at protecting your legacy, why is that so important if your brand is so good, the way they want us to believe it is, right? So they're basically asking us to shell out a lot of money for the guitars. They're very expensive, and they're getting more and more expensive every day. They've been basically selling us the same stuff over and over again. The last 10 years or so haven't been great. The quality of their guitars haven't been great. Yet they're trying to make us buy into this idea that, you know, only a Gibson will do. And that's blatantly not true. And if that was true, why are people buying, you know, Epiphones? Why are they saying that Epiphones are good too? You know, if only a Gibson will do. So it kind of left, this whole scenario kind of left a bad taste in my mouth. And I felt that, you know, if Mark wasn't intelligent enough to see this while he was, you know, reading the lines and making the video, I felt kind of like bad for him. I was hoping that, you know, he would be authentic enough to stand up for the brand, to stand up for what's right. And why do we even need to know this? It's basically a blatant threat going out to boutique builders and other companies that are making guitars that are kind of similar to Gibsons. And to me, what I'm reading between the lines is very simple. Is how dare you make a guitar that looks like our guitar, is better than our guitar, and less expensive. We're gonna come after you. So, you know, instead of focusing on making a better guitar, instead of focusing on making a guitar where the nut is cut properly and doesn't slip out of tune every time you strum a chord, instead of making a guitar where if you look at the headstock slightly funny, it like breaks off and has to be re-glued because the neck angle is not correct, and it's an Achilles heel in the design. You know, instead of fixing those things, instead of, you know, making guitars that are better and less expensive, and going back to what people really do like about your brand and your guitars, and offering it to them at a reasonable working man's price, instead of doing all of that and focusing on that, you're focusing on playing with your lawyers and trying to create another revenue stream, which is basically going out and suing everybody that you can sue. You know, that I don't think will fly. I think people will push back on that, and I think it will make people not want to participate in the Gibson brand if that's the type of game that they're going to be playing. And this is not new. Gibson's been suing people for a long time. They sued PRS when they originally came out with when they started making the semi-cut guitars, and they took them to court. And Gibson had a whole slew of lawyers there, and they thought it was a done deal and that the judge would rule in their favor. And basically the judge said no. Nobody will mistaken a PRS guitar for a Les Paul. And you can keep on making your PRSs and you can keep on making your Les Pauls. There's no issue and there's no infringement here, right? So guys, you know, it's really something I wanted to get off my chest. I'm hoping that somebody out there, maybe Mark himself or the CEO of Gibson himself, will stumble across some of these videos that YouTubers like me are making. And we're not making them to be mean. We're making them because we want Gibson to pay attention and understand, just make better guitars. If you make better guitars, better quality guitars at an affordable price, your legacy will be protected. There's nothing that you need to do. You don't have to get out the big guns. You don't have to go out and sue everybody, every Tom, Dick, and Harry because they're making a guitar that kind of looks like a Gibson, because people will want to buy your Gibsons. Make them affordable. People will want to buy them. Make them durable. Make them, you know, authentic. People will want to buy them. you know, but just focus on what's important, and that's making good guitars. Focus on craftsmanship. Focus on hiring people that are going to just be there to build great guitars. That's what we want. It's not complicated, you know. Don't try and reinvent the wheel. Just make good, solid guitars. So that's it for today, guys. I just wanted to get that off my chest. I just wanted to make people understand that, you know, you have to be able to cater to every demographic, and that's people that are making a lot of money, people that are just starting off, that don't have enough money to buy that Gibson Les Paul or that beautiful 335 that's on the upper shelf at the store. They have to start somewhere. And it's not a big threat to a huge company like Gibson if somebody's making a little knockoff that kind of looks like your guitar. That just gives them, you know, people that can afford your guitar something to strive for. You know, buy the cheap guitar. You know, it's gonna scratch the itch for a while, but eventually they're gonna want to upgrade. And if your guitar is good enough, and it's actually better than, you know, a Tokai or an Edwards or a Bernie, people will buy it. You know, if people are not buying your guitars, there's something wrong. It's not because of the brand. People love the brand. It's because you're charging too much for it, or the quality is just not up to par for the money that you're asking for your guitars. Simple as that, guys. It's not rocket science. And for a director of brand experience, that was honestly a big mistake. I think he should have been smarter than that. And I think it sort of already put a black mark against his name there, and hopefully he could make up for it. You know, if I was him, I wouldn't come out with stuff like that anymore. I would just focus on making the customer extremely happy, giving the customer white glove treatment, customer support, no hassle buying. You know, if there's something wrong with your guitars, we're gonna fix it, we're gonna make it right. That's all the customer wants. And if you can do that, the customer will more than gladly hand over their hard-earned cash for your product. If you can't do that, they'll just go somewhere else. It's as simple as that, Gibson. Come on, wake up, all right? That's all I had to say for today, guys. Thank you for tuning in. I just had to get that all off my chest. I feel better now. It's almost like therapy, you know? Maybe I should, you guys should send me the bill for listening to me vent. But I appreciate you guys tuning in. If you guys want to check out the video, I'll put the link down below to the video that was reposted on YouTube. You can have a look for yourself. If you have comments on this, please leave your comments below. I'm always happy to listen to what you think. Maybe I'm off the mark here completely, but that's my take on this whole thing. So that's it for now, guys. Thank you for tuning in. As I mentioned at the end of my videos all the time, stay tuned and keep rocking, because there'll be more great videos coming your way very soon. See you later.